If the oceans were drained, what would be the first thing you would go looking for? I'm assuming you're already familiar with the Drain the Oceans TV show. If not, I highly recommend. But I'd head to the area around Alexandria. I saw a touring exhibit of On the Sunken Cities, discovered there a few years ago. Here's one of the few extant links I can find to it. Link. They found two lost cities, Canopus and Thonis Heraclean. Canopus was home to a huge temple. Thonis Heraclean, a city with two names, one Egyptian, one Greek, was a center of trade and a place where both civilizations met and merged. The quality of the artifacts that could be moved was fabulous. And there's tons more apparently that couldn't even be easily excavated or extracted. And apparently there's tons more all around that area. There are, if I remember correctly, plans for an underwater museum in the area. But obviously, drained oceans would be a wee bit more convenient. I'm just here because you used extant properly. Archaeologists would go nuts. It's not just the ancient shipwrecks, but sea levels were so much lower for most of the time our species has been around. They could see our original route out of Africa, some of the first Neolithic settlements, Beringia, and the route from Siberia to North America, Doggerland, etc. Area 51. Find those aliens while everyone else is distracted, only to discover that's where they were hiding all the water. That's partially the plot of John Wyndham's The Kraken Wakes alien invasion pods that land on the seafloor and invade the world slowly, including by melting the polar ice caps and causing worldwide flooding. Honestly surprised it's never been adapted into a movie. The transatlantic fiber optic cables, I only learned about them as an adult and I just want to see, because it's still incomprehensible to me. Edit: I didn't realize how many people could relate to this. Just imagine a really long cable. But how? Mega cable is not a satisfactory answer. The transatlantic cables are huge. They have the cabling itself that's relatively very thin, then a protective rubber shielding, followed by braided steel shielding, and finally a really thick rubber coating. Every few kilometers of cable is connected by a repeater that amplifies the signal to combat signal loss. I want to trust you because that description is logical, but my god, it doesn't sound right. Malaysia Flight 370. I'd love to know what really happened and why. Also pirate treasure. And it is estimated that there is around 60 billion of unclaimed treasure still out there. Link. I'm surprised this wasn't a rickroll. The scars are real. Water. Not only that, the earth would heat up really ducking quick. There's a lot of energy that gets absorbed by the oceans, and it has to go somewhere when they're gone. No. Without water things would likely get colder. The water heats up and holds energy. Take away all the water and you've removed a massive amount of heat energy. All the salt caked on the ocean floor would reflect sunlight back into space and the earth would freeze. No. Everything would stay exactly the same. Water is a useless liquid and serves almost no purpose. Sounds crazy, but imagine how many people drowned and had their wallets on them. I'm really not sure how to feel about this. Rich. Filthy rich. The price to skydive the Mariana Trench, Grand Canyon style. You would be disappointed. The Mariana Trench is very deep, but also extremely wide. It doesn't look like a pitfall. Great Canyon style. It's more of a very flat end V. So are you. A gas mask. The smell of rotting fish is bleh. A megalodon at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. I was reading these comments whilst going for a banging crap and was surprised that no one had put this. So, thank you. There's got to be a big shark whale down there somewhere. Marine biologists say that it's not just highly unlikely but almost impossible for a creature that big to survive in an area this small. They need incredible amounts of food. The drain. Oh lord. Can you imagine the mind-numbing stench of sea rot that would fill the air? Even if all the pelagic and surface life was drained away with the water, the stanky sea mud would be ghastly. I imagine every coastal city in the world would be vacated in a panic as the stink tide rolled in. The good thing about the sense of smell is you go nose blind to it. Like other people's houses stink, but not to them. So after a while sea rot would be just like home. Where the water went, because I imagine it would come back in a big way. That's a lot of liquid. All of it ended up on Mars somehow. The Bahamas to see if I can find that bikini top the surf knocked off my wife on our honeymoon in '86. That was her favorite bathing suit. Badland shugs. That MF probably drank the damn ocean. My son would insist on going see the Titanic first, followed by literally every shipwreck ever. He's 6 and is obsessed with shipwrecks. He can tell you a bunch of random facts about Titanic and other ships that have gone down. Where they were built, what company built them, what year they were built, year they sank, the captain's name, how many people died, how the ships broke apart, the position they settled in. Edit my first award. Thanks. Here is a site he may find interesting. Courtesy of the Mel Fisher Maritime Museum in Key West. Link. Tons of great stuff to explore. That great white whale. I've got a score to settle with that beast. Sounds like the lack of ocean already settled that score. Other relics of old civilizations, whether it be because of mythological origin or not, since Smith may have at least some real world reason for originating. More specifically around the South Pacific Ocean, since I'm quite fond of Polynesian culture. There's a bit of Neolithic stuff in the North Sea in what used to be called Doggerland, which was basically a huge area between the UK and Denmark. That'd be cool. The dead body I accidentally left $1,000 in. You heard me. There are more nuclear weapons on the bottom of the ocean that you'd like to think there are. I'd find those and sell the locations to whichever government lost them in the first place. Problem. Not sure if it happened. What if a Russian nuke and American nuke are found side by side? Spanish conquistadors dumped all of the platinum valued 1,300 ounces they found in the Americas into the ocean, so that people couldn't use to make fake gold. Wreck of the Titanic ship. Sad story for you, it will probably just collapse if the water disappears. The wreck basically has no structural integrity and is collapsing. The wreck will not exist anymore in like 10, 20 years. I'd luck for all the World War II ships and planes that sunk in battle. Reliant. Harold Holt. The Avenger bombers. I'm not at all into Bermuda Triangle shit, but I want to know where they went off course and ditched. They were killed by some asshole in an R3. Amelia Earhart's plane. Atlantis. Why was the answer so far down the list? A tsunami as the water comes back. My keys. All of the sunken drugs. Fish Mayfair already found those. Do the fish Mayfair throw their enemies on the land? You will sleep with the sheep. Former Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt. He disappeared at sea while he was the PM. Now we have a swimming pool named after him. The earrings that are lost in the surf. Kim. There are people that are dying. Where they put all that water. Probably lots of gold treasure to be found. Old shipwrecks in the Bermuda Triangle. The water David Byrne kept talking about. The standards for hiring at my weekend job. They've lowered them so low I don't think I'll even find them at the bottom of the ocean though either. So a random thought occurred to me. The ocean can be deeper than Everest is tall. If it rained, would the air up on SRA level thin out to the point that we'd have to relocate down into dry seabeds? My self-esteem. It's down that low somewhere. Are you sure that the Mariana Trench goes that deep? Bottles of 300-year-old wine and rum to binge drink with my friends. The Ganjai Soray, brought down along with its protector Fatem Hamd. These ships were attacked on their way to returning from the Hajj by Henry Avery and 5 other men. Another one of these notable men is Thomas II, although he was hit with a cannonball during the attack, all taking place on September 7, 1695. The secret Krabby Patty recipe. If sea level effectively became about 6 miles lower, I guess I would go looking for oxygen. Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster lives in Loch Ness, not the oceans. You'd be looking in the wrong place. Edit spelling. I'd see if there are any weird animals at the bottom. We have only explored like 10% of the oceans. Aliens. There are theories that there are alien bases underwater. Some of the spotted UFOs also dive down underwater and then disappear. If they still live on the Earth but just underwater, are they still aliens? Atlantis. How is the top answer not Atlantis? All of the sea monsters that we haven't found yet or assumed to be extinct. The ocean is massive, and we only know what is in a small fraction of it, so I'd be curious to know what else lives down there. One pirate treasure. To the lost city of Atlantis. 3 fossils at Antarctica's frozen shore. 4 what lies at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench. 5 megalodon sharks. Ancient civilizations. Try to trace when people actually came to North America. The oceans have risen significantly. There is a lot of civilization below the waves. The sunglasses I lost in 1997 whilst diving into a wave. Prehistoric artifacts and settlements from Dogland. Either Neanderthal or early modern human. Ancient shipwrecks in the Mediterranean Sea. Would love to find more Greco-Roman treasures like the Rhesus bronzes or the Antikythera mechanism. I'd start on the continent shelf and look for ancient cities under the dirt. Oceanic Flight 815. My Red Ranger Tyrannosaurus toy that I lost when I was a kid. I looked everywhere else, and I can't form the Megazord without him. The large amount of dead bodies. I'm sure a lot of cold cases would be solved with this one. I don't think the entire worldwide police force would be able to cope with it all. Apart from America, who would find a way to link them all to one person to keep the paperwork simple. Gold deposit. Gold used to be very close to the surface and in almost perfect refined form. There should be tons of easily available gold nuggets and ore deposits just sitting there. A gun. All that rotting fish and methane. I'd rather die quick than struggling for breath. I want to see if there's significantly more sunken ships in the Bermuda Triangle than elsewhere. Fresh water. But seriously, I'd be looking for shipwrecks. Cruise ships and stuff would have loads of valuable stuff in. The Euro train between England and France. Would look mad to see a tunnel that down below. I would honestly just love to see the topography of the missing space. I imagine it would all look like a massive canyon, not including the massive underground mountains and trenches. In World War II, the town where I grew up, like many other British towns, set up a Spitfire fund. They would put crashed German planes on display in the town center and charge a fee to see it. Once they had enough money, it would go towards the construction of a Spitfire that would have the town's name on the side of it. Sadly, after a few months of service, it was shot down in the English Channel just off the coast of France. It's been my dream since I was a kid to find that plane. Edit, just for your information, I'm only 20 years old, so was obviously and sadly not around to see the plane or be there when they flew it over the town in celebration when it was completed. The plastic ring my brother took from me and threw into the Atlantic when I was 4. It was my very first purchase with money I'd gotten for being a good little girl, and I like to pretend it gave me superpowers. I don't know, but I'd be buying stock in metal detectors. There are about to be beachcombers as far as the eye can see. I'd be going to different sites of shipwrecks and pay my respects to the lost souls on board. Places like HMS Hood, submarines, and Yamato. I'd probably just stay home. I don't have a plane nor the ambition to search thousands of miles of the ocean. I wonder how thick the mud is on the bottom of the ocean. Like millennia of fine silt, organic waste. All that gunk would not make it likely I'm going anywhere fast. Lost aquatic dinosaurs or fish, like the megalodon. Crashed military equipment they don't want us to know about has had to gone missing in the oceans. Big squid, I know he's there, somewhere. I'm going for gold. Titanic, you're next. Amelia Earhart's plane. She was such an amazing person and her disappearance is one of those mysteries I really want to have solved. The Krusty Krab. The abyss. Would be fun to do some climbing and exploring from it, and seeing all the fossils, various shipwrecks and plane crashes, and then just walking on what used to be the ocean floor without the fear of the actual ocean.